David Wygant, part two. Wow, you don't even know. Part one was really good, so good. Except I'm leaving out of town tomorrow, and I unplugged my computer, and then I thought I replugged it back in because I remembered I had an interview with Rodney, and I guess I didn't plug it in well enough. And this Mac sucks ass. It's an overpriced machine that runs sluggish at times and just drives me nuts. Anyway, be aware of my emotions. Walk away when I feel frustrated. I did. I walked away when the whole thing shut down, and I feel better now. We were having a really great conversation, and I'm going to relate to where you are probably all at in your life. Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day was a great movie with Bill Murray. And he kept repeating the same day over and over again until he finally got the lesson. How many of you feel like you're living a Groundhog Day? Now, before I started trading stocks, I was never living a Groundhog Day. Every day I woke up and I was extremely present. And every day really showed me the magic that life is. Talking to people, random people, doing this, doing that. You know, I am really super present. I'm not somebody who, when I'm with you, you're not going to see me texting or anything else. I'm engrossed in the conversation because I really believe every human being has a secret to share with one another. So why not be present? Since I started trading, I have brought up, what it's brought up for me is many things that I coached many of you to get away from. Your subconscious mind, the past, mommy and daddy issues, trust, anxiety. I never had anxiety, at all. Like, I mean, I can have a client who's going to pay me $25,000 and walk away, and I would, take a walk around the block for 5 minutes and go, well, he doesn't deserve my coaching. I'll go find somebody else, and it's a lot of money. And you know what? Universe would give me that money again anyway. Didn't matter. But when you start trading stocks, I believe it's I do believe that it is the market is the devil, the angel, the most incredible mirror reflecting back. I listened to a webinar the other night by a mutual person. Rodney and I both know John Carter, and he started talking about his, his story where he blew the money for his down payment of his house. I mean, yeah. It is, and that was a couple of years into the process. And we all have what we call that inner self-destructive behavior. I call mine the IG, the inner gambler, but really it's just the inner self-destructive. You get to a point where, you're finally feeling great, and then you do something to just go, I was feeling really good. Let me just fuck it up and feel lousy for a little while, because that's what we do until we fix. And that word fix is such a bad word because you're not broken. None of you are broken. You're just humans. And my guest now is a healer, energy work. We're going to talk about how you can, I hate using the word fix, Rodney, because we're not broken as human beings, but how you can end the perpetual Groundhog Day, because I can't stand mine. I mean, mine, and that's the thing about trading too. You talk to a lot of top traders and they tell you they didn't make a lick of money for the first 3-4 years, right? And then all of a sudden it just happened. And I'm thinking, like, I remember when I heard that when I first started trading, I was like, that's not going to be me. Never. What are you kidding me? Guess what? That's me. I'm human like the rest of them, and you can laugh at it at times, and you can realize that the market is not going to give you, and life is not going to give you the prize until you work on the stuff that you've been ignoring for a long time. I call it the great cover up. And I've been really good at covering up. I've been living anxiety, stress-free. And when I do have stress, it's always me bringing that upon myself. Like I never blame anybody for it. Like I was going through a legal thing with somebody, right? And I could have said, it's their fault. No, it was my own fault because I set it up that way.
Right.
I did it to myself. They didn't do it. I did it. I wasn't the victim.
Well, they're all lessons.
Yeah. So, Rodney, you've worked with lots of people. You've worked on their energy. You've done lots of healing in your life. Can human beings, what does it take for a human being to get out of, and I know all of you listening are experiencing your own unique Groundhog Day. What does it take for somebody to get out of that Groundhog Day? I mean, I've got notes everywhere on my desk and, but like in the heat of the groundhog moment, we don't look at our notes. We go back to the groundhog habit. How does somebody ground themselves so they can break free of that?
Einstein once said about goldfish, they will be the last to discover water. Because
okay. Explain why, because that's kind of funny. Because I've had goldfish tanks.
Do you get that?
Well,
because they're surrounded with it. The frequency of the water is all around them. It perpetuates every move that they have. And they have the same container to go in around and around and around for, I don't know, a couple of years before they die, whatever the lifetime is. But they don't know it's water because they're in it. And it's the same way with people. If you surround yourself with the same things over and over again, the habits that were engendered in you from childhood, the influence of your parents and your grandparents, they all have frequencies, different frequencies of love, but love, that bombard you in a way, some good, some bad. And the bad ones change the way your hormones develop, change the firing pattern in your mitochondria. And then as you go through that's in utero developing. And then as you go through childhood, they're part of you. So you tend to repeat it. You very much repeat it. And you find people to associate with that match that. So if you're a bad seed, you look for bad seeds. If you're loving, you look for somebody that's loving. If you've had catastrophe in your life, then you end up going out with somebody who has the same capacity for catastrophe, because that's what you're used to. And even though somebody can look, even though you may say, I want somebody that's this way or this way, and I want this person to have this specific things, and you make a list of it, that list goes out the door when you meet that one person who has the same frequency levels of love that you have been accustomed to your entire life, and even when you were developing in utero. So the only way to get around this, and I'm a perfect example of that, because it took me years and years. That Groundhog Day thing that you were talking about, I did the same thing. And finally, one day I decided I have to be honest with myself. No matter how painful it is, and it is painful, I have to look at I just made a list. What don't I like about myself? And then where is this coming from? And some of it was coming from my mother, some of it was coming from my father, some from my grandmother, some from my grandfather. And I made peace with it. I said, okay, I did a forgiveness prayer. I love you. I want to accept the good stuff. And I want to leave the bad stuff behind. I want to change. And I say it in the present. I am changing the frequency from negative energy to positive energy. And I just reinforce that within myself every single day. And it takes a while. That's what I do with clients when I do energy work on them. I basically, instead of what took me 25 years to do from my 20s to my 50s, I actually know how to do that really quickly. And sometimes, and so people have these epiphanies that they've been waiting their whole life to have. I changed the goldfish bowl into a bigger bowl, which is almost impossible to do by yourself. But I have met some people that have done it. It's very, very rare. It's very rare. So I'm just providing the opportunity to go from a goldfish bowl to a swimming pool and then to an ocean. It sounds simple. It's very complicated. There's stuff, you know, like we've talked about this, like in utero, you do homolateral fetal movements, and there's a series of 10 of them, and they're sequential. But if something happened between your parents during the development of the first one, then what happens is that the second one doesn't get all the attention, and the third one doesn't get all the attention. So if you're missing like 4 or 5 of the first 10, you're missing 400 or 500 of the 1600, the average of 1600 that you're supposed to be doing, which means that your endocrine system is developed in a different way. Your heart is developed in a different way. You have disadvantages or handicaps in different parts of your body. So I go in, one of the things that I do is I go in and correct what's going on in utero. I go back in time to that person, with that person, and it's a redo. It's like a you know, like a hard drive wipe. You know, I'm not wiping out the good stuff. I'm wiping out the bad. I'm improving the bad stuff. And so that by the time now, as an adult, for some reason, I don't know the mechanism, but when I correct the stuff that goes on in utero, it fast forwards to the present day, almost instantaneously. It's almost miraculous how it happens, but I've worked on people who did not get along with their parents for 10 years. And after one session, they were, you know, like calling on the phone and crying to them and made up. It's amazing. It's really amazing. It works for diseases. It works for emotional stuff. But you have to be, what helps is if you are prepared to change. It's really everybody's an individual, and it's not a cookie cutter approach. So I'm helping the person help themselves, but it's almost on a completely unconscious, higher, you know, like higher level. I'm dealing with their mind rather than what's in their body, and their mind is dictating to what's going on in their body.
When you say, you know, and this is interesting, I took some notes, you know, mind is dictating inside their body what I don't like of themselves. You know, I mean, is that like just getting real honest with themselves? I mean, you know, that their mind, when they're programmed into that Groundhog Day or the goldfish bowl.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in that goldfish bowl and, you know, you start the day off feeling like you're in an aquarium. By the end of the day, you're not in a goldfish bowl anymore. You're in an amusement park cup. And you're in an amusement park cup, and people are throwing ping pong balls to try to own you. And you hope that by the end of the day, and this is an interesting analogy, there are times sometimes with me at the end of the day, if we go goldfish, I feel like I'm in a cup and I feel like I'm just dying in that cup. You know, like all the energy is sucked out of me. And I'm just like, am I ever going to get to the goldfish bowl? Is a young kid going to win me or am I going to die at this really awful amusement park? Because amusement parks, I've never used this analogy ever. This is all new, right? Amusement parks are Groundhog Days over and over again. You know, they sucker people into playing the games. I mean, how much money have I spent on stuffed animals for my kid? You know, I mean, probably $1,000 in my life.
While you're being honest with yourself, there are, like unseen forces on the other side that know you're being very vulnerable, and they will take advantage of you. So they'll give you ideas that are not healthy, and you think they're your ideas because you've been self-deprecating your entire life, but they're actually coming from another source. So you have to protect yourself with a white light or violet light all the time. And you shouldn't be giving away your energy also. Like, it's nice to be, like, the difference that I point out with people is the difference between compassion and empathy. If you have empathy for someone, then you want to constantly feel bad for them. But really, what you're doing is you're feeling bad for them temporarily so that when you are in trouble, they can feel badly for you. And you really can't be empathic towards somebody unless you share the identical experience, and 20 years later, you don't even have to talk about it because it's just part of both of you. Compassion, on the other hand, is somebody is in trouble or somebody's having an emotional issue or physical issue or a disease or something. Then you know that whatever they're going through, you feel compassion for them, but you can feel compassion and love with the idea that we all have choices in life. And believe it or not, even somebody who gets sick and somebody who's dying or somebody who has an emotional crisis, we set these all up before we even come here as people, as humans, as in this incarnation, as I believe. And you make them, you do this as a choice that you have in order to learn the lessons that you need to learn during this lifetime. So to feel sorry for somebody or have empathy for somebody who's making choices but feels terrible doesn't help them. But if you have compassion for them, you're basically honoring their pathway. You're honoring their choices. You're honoring the lessons that they've chosen. And it doesn't mean that you can't help. I mean, you can help. You just can't feel sorry for them, because that doesn't help them. It kind of like it bleeds the help out, and also it sucks out your energy. It leaves you with no energy. So you have to make the distinction between being empathic towards somebody and being compassionate, which is a much better choice. As far as energy goes, I surround myself with white light all day long. When I wake up in the morning, I say a prayer of thank you for everyone that was involved in my still being here, for waking up. I wake up, I have a double espresso, and I hold the espresso up in my hand, and I say thank you for probably the 100 million people who are involved in getting that espresso bean from farm to my glass and pressing it out with a machine. All the people. And there were a lot of people involved in that. The growers, the transporters, the people who built the ships, the unloaders, the transporters from the docks to where I got it, the people who sell it. The bean was handled several hundred times by all different manner of influence. Everything that you touch, everything that you go near imparts a certain frequency to it. So I thank them because I'm honored to drink what came, and it's fantastic.
Wayne Dyer had dinner with him a couple of times, and I forgot what he told me, but he told me something the exact same way. When you wake up in the morning, he would wake up at 3 in the morning or 3:30 and write. And he would always say, "Thank you, God, for another beautiful day," or something. I forgot what it was. It was something really simple.
Yeah,
And it was feeling blessed. And we get so, I mean, I know I do. You get so caught up in would it be judgment or judging ourselves or comparing. I never compared myself to other people per se, because if people have greater success than I do, I'm happy for them. If they have less success, then I have, I feel like I can help them, and I'll enjoy.
how you define it depends on how you define success, though. Is it a competitive success, or is it success on things that you have achieved? Like
Um,
the Aborigines in Australia, they don't celebrate birthdays. They celebrate when they have achieved something, and their personal achievements. So in our society, much more competitive. If you own a house, then you're successful. You've got a PhD or an MD, you're really successful. But what about the guy who's, like collecting garbage? I mean, he could be the nicest guy in the whole world. But we don't pay much attention to that because, like he's part of being a civil servant. So it's what do you mean by success is what I'm asking. Everybody defines success differently.
I mean, success is, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind as a person is absolutely loving your life, your choices you're making. It's not based on the amount of money, because I'm not driven by, I don't need to make millions of dollars a year. I'm not driven by that anymore. I'm driven more by success. To me right now is to have as much money as I need for the moment that I need it, and being able to always make more of it if I need more of it. But what's really important is to be able to be self-expressed more so, where I know as a man, as a person, to be very cognizant of who I am, respectful of how I feel, and be able to explore myself and the people around me without distractions, to be able to create, to be able to do interviews like this without thinking about anything, to be able to go see my daughter and just be really present and just have that moment with her, to be able to walk around New York City and be glared at by the people who are wearing masks and I'm not. To be, a little bit of humor.
That would be a trip.
Right, yeah, to love, to float in a sensory deprivation tank and meditate, to whatever I feel like doing. To me, success is having enough money to do whatever you want to do, to whatever you want to experience. That's my definition of success. Now, if you asked me 15 years ago, it was to make $1 million a year. It was, it was totally different. Now it's like, I have not made the money I'm used to making the last couple of years, and I haven't lacked or needed anything. So that's probably something that I needed to learn. That lesson is what I probably needed to learn. I never thought about it until you asked me that question, but I have not nearly made the money I'm used to making at all. But you know what? My life has not been any worse. I haven't lacked anything at all.
Right.
Huh, interesting. Got to think about that for a little while. That just came to me.
There are people that, like the monks up in the 26,000 feet in the mountains in Tibet, or maybe not that high, 20,000 feet. They pray and meditate all the time, and probably success for them is, you know, like having an epiphany every once in a while about how close they feel to God, if that's what they're praying for. You know, or if they feel white light coming through them. It's different. It's different for everyone.
It is.
I mean, it's starkly different for everyone. We as a society tend to be stuck in success being equated to material goods. So that's a problem because it's a short-sighted goal. And then, you know, you go through that when you're a teenager, when you're in 20s, excuse me, in your 30s, and then all of a sudden you're 35, 40 years old, and you're monetarily successful, and you've sold your soul to do it. And then you're out in, you know, you're out in the field. You're lost. You're completely lost. Life has no meaning. And that's why it's important for families to, when they have children, to encourage questioning, to encourage debate, encourage learning, reading and writing. I mean, when my kids were very young, we did reading and writing and arithmetic before they were 5 years old. All three of them knew how to do that. And so it was much less of a challenge for them because they were good at math and they were good at reading. Unfortunately, in this society, you're either good at one or the other. So if you're only good at one or the other, then it kind of cuts out half the job market. So you go what you're good at. You know, you don't do something in math if you're good in the arts, and you don't do something in the arts if you're good at math. So those opportunities come to you when you're a child from good parenting, from unconditionally loving parents. And it happens, I see it every once in a while, but mostly not. So you end up with dysfunctional children, dysfunctional adults, and you end up with, you know, like a half crazy society that doesn't know where they are. They're all in fishbowls, basically, a lot of them. But a lot of people want to get out of that fishbowl. So.
I know, I hate my fishbowl, you know. I never, you know, I've always looked at life as waves, you know, and I always had the ocean. I lived on the ocean, you know,
Yeah.
so I always had the ocean. I have not lived in a fishbowl. I've lived the last couple of years in a fishbowl, you know, and it's interesting, you know, because I know all my clients lived in fishbowls, you know, and I'd be like, come on, man, it's just, these are just women, you know, you got to go and just express yourself and just enjoy and just don't worry about being, you know, I mean, don't worry about what they think. And, you know, and just there's so much depth, you know, we talk about overanalyze it. They would overanalyze it. And I would always be like, I just can't believe they live in this like limiting world with them, because I've always believed in unlimited. As a human being, I've always created many different versions of myself, and I've enjoyed that. I remember when I was a kid, I hung out in my room and had lots of imagination parties with myself. Kept me sane because my parents were fucking batshit crazy, right? So, but I've always been able to create amazing versions of myself. I call them characters, like I'm living my own movie. So when I coach people, I do the same thing. What type of character do you want to be in the movie that you want to live called your life, right? And let's develop that character. And I've had no issues creating the characters, and I've done lots of businesses. I've had no issues creating any of these characters. But I can tell you something, and this is something that there's two industries that come with very negative stories that stop people. And I've realized it. One is the date coaching industry, okay? Where there's so many gurus, fake gurus that are out there that are trying to teach men and women how to act and don't trust themselves, right? So all they're doing is hearing, you can't say this and you can't say this and you can't say this and you can't do this and you got to wait this and you got to do that, right? And it's filled with that stuff, okay? Because there's so many people, and I'm not like that at all. You like somebody, text them, ask them out. You know, there's no rules, right? And then there's one other industry out there that comes with so much negativity. It's unbelievable. And you know what that industry is? It's the stock trading industry. Filled with people. 98% of people fail. You got to have rules. You got to do this. If you don't do this, this, and you're blowing up accounts. And it's a lot of negative. So you hear it, you know, and you hear it in people because it's like, and if you think about life, right? And if we broke it down, okay, stock trading is no different than talking to a woman in a market. You know, talking to a woman in a market is reading an expression on a face and saying hello and making a comment. I call it see it, say it. Making a comment on what you see and jumping into her world. Stock trading is for 10-year-olds. It really is. It's a game of lines and colors. Right. That's all it is. When this line, the 8, goes over the 21 line, and you have a green little man taking out a red man, you go until that 8 decides to hook back down and drop the man down a slide to the 21 or 20 period moving average, and there's your money. But in between all that, there's all this negative anxiety and people's expressions and the bots and the algorithms, and you're going against this, and that. And they always say you're going to the smartest people in the world on Wall Street. No, you're not. You're going against the neurotic people who are filled with that. So it's interesting. These two industries mask one another as such a lack of trust and rules. All you hear is rules. But if you think about it, and you know this, there are people who meet so many women because they follow their own rules. That was me. And there's so many people who make millions of dollars trading because they follow their intuition or what they see, and they have something that's simple for them, and they block out all the noise. And I think that's the biggest thing, you know, Rodney. I know, you know, and I've said this before on my show, is that I've become my clients, and I never was them before. And I fully understand, like when I coach somebody now for dating and relationships, I'm like, God, I understand all their stuff. Like I never had those struggles, right? But you know, now I've heard so much because you go and you seek, and the more you seek, the less you trust the simple things in life, like saying hello, seeing it, saying it. And trading is the same thing. See it, trade it. That's it. See
well,
it.
I for a very, very long time, I've always thought that the stock market was my psychiatrist.
Oh God, totally.
Because if I messed up, and each session was probably costing me $100.
Please, I had a $40,000 session one day. Okay, one day, 15 minutes. The market charged me 40 grand.
It's not like somebody gives you a slap in the hand, you know, like when you're growing up and say, don't do that. This gives you a slap in the hand and saying, oh crap, I have to sell my house. Oh my God, my wife's going to divorce me. Yep. So these are instantaneous lessons of bad habits. That's why it's your psychiatrist, because it's either going to teach you or it's going to break you.
But you'll repeat the same bad habits over and over again until finally it breaks you. And then you finally either A, walk away, or B, you finally say to yourself, Jesus, I can't do this anymore. It's wiping, because the stock market's the only place in the world where 3 weeks of gains can be wiped out in 15 minutes by one lesson.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And it happens to everybody, and everybody talks about it, but nobody gives you the solution for it, because when it finally solidified inside their own brain, they finally somehow or another got back to the simplicity that this is just a game of colors and bars and lines.
Game. It's a game. The market's a game. The economy is a game.
Yep.
Everything is a game. If you look at it more than that, then you have too much invested emotionally in the wrong thing. It's a tool. It's a tool. It's a game. And if you you can make your own rules to do it. Like a like a flock of birds or a school of fish. They all move together like that. They're all spaced out evenly. I don't know how they do it. There's like radar in their wings or something, but there are no mistakes because you never see them crash. But it's the same thing with the market. If you don't learn like double Dutch and roping, if you don't get the rhythm of it and you don't learn the spacing, you're going to crash into the next person, or you're going to trip on the rope and double Dutch. So that you have to learn that, but that takes some intuition to learn that. And some people never learn it, and they're not good traders. And some people learn it and they're amazing, and they don't even know they're amazing.
No, there are people that are amazing and don't even know it because they're not making the money yet, because they have not let go, because they're still influenced. That's me, influenced by other people's stories. And it's interesting, Rodney, when I first started doing the date coaching, I was the only one doing it right at the time. And I remember I was writing for Yahoo Personals. This is like in 2004, maybe, right? Yeah. And they would put my blog posts on live on a Saturday night, 10,000 comments. People would look at me and go, "This guy's gay. This guy's wearing a toupee. What the fuck does he?" Nasty shit. And a friend of mine, a client of mine who ended up working for me for years, says, "How do you deal with that?" And I literally said to her, "I don't care. I don't listen to other people, because other people will make you feel things that you don't need to feel. It's a choice." And maybe I did my own white light blockout, but it's funny, the negativity around, the stock market is built on everybody's pain that it took them to be successful, because in America, we sell pain to get people to join and buy our programs. You realize, like every self-help program that people sell is based on the pain. Oh, the pain that they went through to be this person, and the pain, and against all odds, and I lost all my money, and I had to go cash advance, and this is the fourth account I blew up, and finally it dawned on me that I'm not an idiot. And I found this simple pattern, the simple way of talking to people, the simple pattern of trading the stocks, the simple way of making money on Amazon. I tried everything. It's unbelievable how much negativity is out there in order to sell an agenda. Wow, I must be talking about COVID. Anyway.
Okay, but that leads back to, if you're selling something, then you're selling an idea to make money, or it's something material. And if you're doing it without compassion, but you're doing it instead because you're kind of soulless, then it's by rote. You're just selling it, and then you get people mixed in with you to do it, and you're making a living at their expense, and sometimes they gain from it, but most of the time they don't.
I know it's a vicious cycle when you read through it, because it's funny when people send me websites on things. "Oh my God, this program looks so great." I go, "I wrote sales copy like that." I can tell you, you know, let me read 3 lines and I'm going to tell you that this person was once overweight and he had an addiction. And I mean, I'm not.
You know, Edward Benet. I think his name was Edward Bernays.
No, I don't know.
He came to this country in the 1920s from Austria. He was Sigmund Freud's nephew, and he used to stay with Sigmund Freud in Vienna or wherever he was. I think it was Vienna. And one time Freud was away, and his nephew Edward Bernays was rifling through his papers and looking for some juicy stuff because he was an opportunist. And he copied down some stuff that said on it, secret file, do not present this in lectures, do not tell the public about this. Bernays made some copies of it. You probably wrote down the copies, there was no copy machine then. And made his way to the United States and decided to use it as a technique for getting into people's heads and selling material goods. So when Ford, Model T Ford was selling, you know, one of the only cars around and everything was going great and they were selling millions of cars. And then it kind of slacked off. So Edward Bernays got an appointment with Henry Ford and he said, hey, you know, all you got to do is put like a little, have a woman with a blousey dress on and show a little leg and put a little sex into it, and you'll sell your cars again. And Ford decided that that was a great idea. And the sales skyrocketed again because people weren't buying the car, they were buying the image. And actually, all of Madison Avenue is based on Edward Bernays' technique of how to sell people stuff. You don't even have to like it, but by the time you're presented what he came up with, all these secret ways of doing it, that's how you present things, and that's how things are done to this day. It's got a little sex in it. It's got a little, it's all fake. It's all fake stuff.
All fake.
All
Do
fake
you know?
stuff.
Do you know when I was when the dating industry first started? I used to go speak at all these pickup conventions.
When what started?
When the dating industry first started, I would speak at
Yeah.
all these pickup conventions, and I would get into arguments with all these fake named gurus. You know, the guy's name would be Bob Williams, but his name was Jason the Fox, you know. And they would all have these alter egos and they would dress this way. And it was all like, you know, it was almost like Rocky, you know, remember, you know, it was like they were the underdog and they were able to get laid and the things they were selling. And there was one guy, Rodney, he would go to these conventions and he was, I'm not going to mention his name, you know, I'd love to, but it's just not, I'm not into trashing somebody, but man, my friends and I have laughed about this guy over and over again. He would go and get like speak and go, all right, I'll take 10 guys, and I'll take you out and, you know, I'll just get you laid, right? So he would take 10 guys out. He paid 3 hookers to show up where they were going, right? 3 of the guys would get laid right in front of the gawking mouth of like the other, oh my God, because the guy would tell them what to say to the hooker. The hooker would respond to the script that they rehearsed in the beginning. The hooker would go home back to the hotel with the guy. And then at the end, he'd have the other 7 guys going, all right, you know, it's like I'm doing this, you know, seminar. It's like $2,000 a piece. Who wants in? I do. Right. And every single, and it was brilliant marketing and absolutely brilliant, but it was all deceitful. And that's what I feel, you know, it's like, you're right. Everybody is selling something, but I think in our society now, we're all selling the pain and how we overcame the pain, and it goes back to the work that you
Yeah, but
do.
the only reason why that sells is because there are a lot of people in pain who do feel that pain, and that's the audience that you're speaking to.
Yeah.
You know, the pain of childhood, the pain of, like loss, separation, abuse, whatever they went through. And it's just like like I mentioned before, you match up with the people that you're supposed to meet according uh, to what feels right to you. And it's completely unconscious. You can like somebody that's the furthest thing from a match that you could ever imagine in your mindset. But you fall in love with this person and you don't know why. And the reason is because they match the frequency that you were used to. It turns out to be a terrible partnership because both of you are completely messed up. But that's what they're attracting with these sales things. There are enough people who are miserable, who don't know how to get out. They're all basically, a lot of them are in a fishbowl, and it is Groundhog Day for them, and they're just looking for something else. And COVID made it 10 times worse.
We all have our Groundhog Day, and we all have to face it. But you can't. No one's going to match. No one's going to give you, and that's what I love about the work that you do, because it's personal. Because here's the thing, people, you could buy program after program after program after program after program after program after program, but you know what? That's not doing the work. The work is this. And I got all my stuff written down in there, and it's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And people will be like, well, you write down some stuff and you're hard on yourself. Well, at that moment, I was pissed off at myself. What am I supposed to do? I love you, David. I love you, Snow. I think you're an idiot right now, and I would like to go and, I'm like a coach, it's like you're acting like a fucking fool right now, and you're acting like an idiot, and this needs to stop. And you're far better than that. And you've had many different wins and everything else, but the dummy that comes out, well, we need to take care of that. So I'll be kind to that, but I want to slap them around a little bit, and it's like there's different ways. And then people will tell you, don't be mean to yourself, don't be harsh to yourself, but everybody responds a different way. I might yell at myself for a second, but that gets rid of the stuff that's inside me. And then it calms me down and gives me the opportunity to reground and look at myself and go, yeah, you know what? I am better than this. Let me think, let me process this on a much deeper level. But I think we want to stay so, and that's why when I lived in California, it drove me nuts, because everybody there wants to hug it out, right? And a New Yorker sometimes wants to get punched in the face and punch you right back, just so we can get it out and then hug it out, but sometimes you just can't hug everything out. There are times in life that you need to critique yourself. I mean, the reason why Tom Brady is so amazing is that he doesn't sit there and love himself 24/7. He watches the videotape nonstop and corrects his mistakes with honesty. And that's why he's 44 years old now, I think.
He's getting up there.
Still playing.
Pretty amazing.
Still playing football. Most likely will probably win another Super Bowl this year on that team. The guy is unbelievable, but he's not. And there was a great story when he was younger, right? Scott Pioli, the general manager, told this story on an interview, and it was one of my favorite. He went back to the stadium because he forgot something, and there was a light on. And it was Tom with like a band around his legs and throwing footballs. It was a Friday night in Boston. Here was this, he makes fun of me. He goes, this kind of good looking guy, right? He makes fun of him. He's kind of good looking, right? So he talks to him that way. He says, he goes, Tom, he goes, you're kind of good looking, right? Just joking, right? Because don't you want to go out? It's a Friday night. He goes, no, I noticed something. I noticed something in my delivery. And I want to do the extra reps. And he looked at him and he was like, whoa, this is somebody very unique, because he was self-aware to realize what he was doing wrong. And he was working on that instead of hugging it out and magic wording it away.
That's an example of what I consider success.
Me too. Me too.
Somebody who will take something that's handicapping them and take it to the next level, and just do it over and over and over again until they get it right.
That's
And sometimes it's it's a repeated effort of doing something physical. Sometimes it's like learning how to be compassionate over and over and over and over again until you get it right, until you get out of your own self. Instead of like doing something for the express purpose of getting something back, you're doing something just to do it with no expectations whatsoever.
You're falling in love with the process.
Yes.
So when the game, and that's the thing with anything you do. Med school's 4 years, and then you've got residency. You're falling in love with the process. So then when the real person comes in the ER, you're ready to do your thing. And that's the same. Look, I mean, trading's the same exact way. And anything in life that, like I would tell men all the time, you got to go out there and say hello to every single person and listen to the responses. And they would always say, for how long? And I'm like, I don't know. It could be years. You could be saying hello before you finally wake up and you have that connection. You don't have years. You might take you years till you can break through all your stuff, because you know what? It's persistence. I mean, I don't like it.
You have to have the will to do it, though.
You do.
I mean, some people, they'll do it, and they'll do it for like 2 months, and then it's done. A New Year's resolution, it's done in 2 weeks. Next year comes along. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that for New Year's. My resolution. It's all lip service. There's no follow through. I mean, it takes somebody. If you really want to change, you have to do it every single day. Every day.
I'll tell you, Rodney, I'm one of the most disciplined people I know. I will take these herbs every single day. I will go and pulse on my machine every single day. I will go and meditate. And my meditations, by the way, my meditations are really good now. Like, I get to the point when I meditate that I can feel the current going through my body. I mean, I can feel my heart beating. It's wild. It's like a wild experience.
Did you do that one we talked about?
Huh?
You did the one we talked about.
Yeah. It's like, it's like meditation I had the other day in the hyperbaric chamber was unbelievable. I felt so much energy going through my body, and I felt my heart beating. And it was like, it was so surreal that all of a sudden something snapped me out of it. Right. And I was like, because all of a sudden I realized, whoa, I got an electrical current going through my body, and my heart sounds like it's beating like a drum, but it wasn't. Everything was so sensationalized on so many levels. And when I go do acupuncture, it's the same thing. I mean, I could feel the energy going through my body during acupuncture. But it's, how long it took me to get there? Years.
Oh, yeah.
Years.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is one of the things that I tell people is, don't wish for anything, don't want for anything, don't hope for anything, just do it. Use all present tense verbs. If you, instead of saying, I want this in my life, who's ever listening on the other side or listening through the ethers or whatever frequencies is being passed on to other people, if you want something, want is a futuristic term. And so the response to that is, well, he didn't specify when he wanted it. So, we'll give him like 2 or 3 years. I wish for this, we'll give him 5 years for this one. I'm hoping for this, we'll give him 10 years for this one, maybe 20 years. But if you say it in the present, this is what I have. Just picture what you want in the future and say, I have this now. That's what your brain is responding to. That's what anyone on the other side that are little helpers on the other side are listening to. They say, well, we have to accommodate this because this is going on right now.
So somebody
So
who's
any future verbs are going to happen in the future, way in the future.
okay, so
And
let
every present or any present verbs are going to happen much quicker, like in days rather than years.
okay, so for people who are in my audience, and this is a good way to end, okay? My audience is made up of people who want to trade and would love to have the skills to meet women, right? Okay.
Mhm.
It's funny, I almost want to rebrand and call myself Babes in Trades, you know? I mean, that's something I was thinking about because it's funny. So give two statements to somebody who wants both, desires, better word, desires those things in their life now in the present. Because having them formulate that based on what we were talking about, I want to give them a takeaway from it. I want to give them something.
The first thing you have to work on is your self-esteem. You're not going to meet women unless you feel good about yourself. So you have to remove your own ego and just be yourself. Don't try to match somebody else's skill because your skill level is your skill level. Just be natural. And as far as trading goes, as far as self-esteem goes, that's actually one of the things I work on. If I go back and redo the hard drive of all the homolateral fetal movements and then the cross crawls after birth, then it does change people's self-esteem. And so it makes you more comfortable with yourself so that you can do that stuff. And it's happened to traders. It's happened to people who wanted to meet women. It's happened to people.
Give them the statement so they can be prepared, because I want them to see and get a little feel of it, because I would like them to contact you so they work with you, but give them something to play with. Give them something. You talked about it, and I took a note down. This is what I have in the now. So a statement in the now for trader and a statement in the now for someone with women. Is it using I am, as everyone else always says, or are you not an I am fan?
Yeah. No, I am at peace with myself and I attract women. Period. I am attracting the woman that I need to learn from, that I can help also.
I like that part.
As far as trading goes, I'm leaving all of my old habits behind that aren't working for me, and I am trading in the present, and I am moving like a school of fish in the market so that I can move with the market instead of being, if it's a downside, I'm moving with it. If it's an upside, but I know I recognize it in the present. And don't look at your P&L all day long, because that's very distracting. Or NLP, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, and move with the flow.
Move with the flow. Yeah.
I'm going to add something to that. See it, trade it, because that's moving with the flow.
But use the verbs in the present. Not like I want to make money today. Just leave all the future terms out and just do it. I am making money today.
Yeah, that P&L page, it's the worst.
Yeah, close it out, because if you're looking at that, you're not looking at the graphs, and the graphs are going to tell you what to do.
No, you're also influenced by that, and then all of a sudden you realize you didn't make enough, and then you realize you actually took 2 good trades, but you didn't make enough because you didn't put enough share size in there, whatever it might be, you start thinking.
Like they say in French, faites attention. Pay attention.
I am present. Rodney, how do people get in touch with you, man? That's good stuff, man, those last 2.
They can, rodneyjulian@gmail.com, RODNEYJULIAN@gmail.com.
Perfect.
And make reference that you saw me on David's show.
Perfect. Rodney, hang out. I'm gonna say goodbye to you properly. The rest of you, contact Rodney. He's a cool dude. He really is. You know, he's gonna do some funky stuff on you that you're just absolutely gonna love. But man, he's got a heart of gold, and that's what's important, because an open heart is what you need to have for yourself in order to make this work. Rodney, hang out.
Okay.